The Galactic combat arena was a cathedral of pain 3 miles wide, 4 stories deep, walled in neutron-tempered alloy and lit by 100 orbiting sunscreens across the stars. Billions tuned in to watch blood spill and bones shatter. For centuries, it had been the ultimate proving ground, not for warriors, but for technology. Every species brought their finest martial advancements: shockwave amplifiers, adaptive armor, neural-laced targeting implants. This wasn't about strength, it was about superiority of systems. And now, a human was scheduled to fight. When the announcement came, galactic networks exploded in laughter. Even among warlike species, humans were considered a sideshow, a bipedal curiosity prone to emotional instability, slow breeding cycles, and outdated moral codes. They were newcomers to the Galactic Compact, only recently invited out of pity and political pressure. No one took them seriously. Now they were entering the arena. Even the broadcasters couldn't hide their smirks. Today's opening bout, the Avaxi announcer chirped, his voice vibrating with sonic harmonics, features a debut species. Origin, Sol3, known as Earth. Biological classification: mammalian, bipedal, oxygen-based metabolism, low-density skeletal structure. Combat enhancements: a pause, none. The audience burst into noise, jeers, laughter. The alien equivalent of popcorn-spitting disbelief. Holograms flickered to life above the arena, displaying the human challenger, Tanner Rourke. Height 6'1", weight to 105 pounds, no armor, no augmentation, no known military accolades. He was walking down the tunnel now, barefoot. "Ladies and sentients," the announcer sang, barely containing his grin. "Earth's champion appears to be unarmed." Indeed, Tanner had no armor plating, no kinetic shielding, not even a basic exoframe. He wore nothing but battered gym shorts and hand wraps. His chest was covered in faded scars and crude tattoos. One of them said "Mom" with a heart through it. His knuckles were thick, calloused. His jaw had clearly been broken before, maybe more than once. Security drones scanned him for illegal implants. The readings came back clean. Not a single enhancement. "What are you doing here, Terran?" asked one of the officials, a tall, multi-eyed Fenari in a synth coat. Tanner cracked his neck and grinned. "Heard there was a fight. Figured I'd stop by. You're not modified. Not even a reflex chip." "I got instincts." "Same thing." The official's eyes fluttered in disbelief. "You do understand the arena's rule, no weapons?" "Yeah," Tanner said, stepping into the blinding light of the ring. "That's why I brought these." He held up his fists. The crowd booed. Some laughed. A few angry bettors threw objects at the hologram feed in rage, seeing their easy payout evaporate. Odds of Tanner surviving 60 seconds were listed at 2,300 to 1. Across the chamber, the real fighter was already waiting. Vranzik the Bone Cruncher was a veteran of 87 kills, towering at 7 feet. His scaled arms were lined with pulse blade ridges, at rest. His elbows crackled faintly with stored kinetic energy. His species, the Braskari, were known for building enhancements into their bone structure. Vranzik's fists were basically warhammers. His shoulders bulged under the pressure of implanted torque cables. His eyes glowed red with predator tracking software. He cracked his neck and grinned, revealing a triple row of fangs. "Is this a joke?" he growled. "You send a prey animal." Tanner jogged in place lightly, rolling his shoulders. "Nah. Joke would be if I brought gloves. Begin." The announcer boomed. Vranzik lunged forward like a meteor, raising a massive arm lined with humming blades. The force of his charge sent a boom across the arena floor. Tanner didn't move. He waited, eyes locked, shoulders loose. The Braskari swung, a wide, arcing slash meant to decapitate. The crowd winced, but Tanner ducked. Smoothly, fluidly, he stepped into the swing, his left foot planting hard under Vranzik's chest. And then he threw a punch, not wild, not flashy, just a compact, explosive shot to the liver. Vranzik staggered. The crowd paused, unsure of what just happened. Alien physiology. Varied, but apparently the liver was still a sore spot. Tanner stepped in again, elbowing the solar plexus. A knee followed, sharp and practiced. Then he pivoted behind the towering brute, grabbed the back of Vranzik's neck, and swept the leg. The giant hit the ground like a dropped boulder. The crowd gasped. In the booth, the Avaxi commentator choked on his drink. That appeared to be a, what do they call it, judo throw. But how? Vranzik roared, humiliated, and surged back up, activating his limb boosters. With a high-pitched whine, he launched a spinning hook meant to crush rib cages. But Tanner sidestepped, grabbed the elbow mid-swing, twisted the joint with a pop, and drove his own elbow into the Braskery's throat. Vranzik stumbled. Tanner leapt, legs wrapping around the alien's neck. He twisted, dropped him, locked in a tight, suffocating choke. The Braskery flailed. No surrender. Came the arena's automated voice. Victory by unconsciousness or death. Tanner didn't blink. Then nap time. The giant twitched. Once, then went still. Silence. The crowd had never seen anything like it. No gadgets. No augmentations. Just bone, muscle, and a terrifying precision. The match ended in 48 seconds. Tanner stood up, wiped blood from his nose, and looked into the nearest camera. Next, the arena exploded. Screaming. Applause. Chaos. Commentators were already pulling data. Apparently, humans have an entire culture built around fighting. Not for survival. Not for conquest. Just for fun. Boxing, they call it. Kickboxing. Wrestling. Cage fighting. Jiu-jitsu. Who trains like this without tech? Behind the scenes, arena managers scrambled. Alien analysts began downloading every human fight video they could find from Earth's web archives. Betting agencies froze payouts. The Galactic Council's diplomatic channels lit up in emergency mode. Tanner Rourke was already walking out of the ring, hands raised, the lights catching the sweat on his shoulders. They thought he was unarmed. They were wrong. He'd brought Earth. The arena's lower chambers were buzzing, an electric current of disbelief running through circuits and flesh alike. Technicians scrubbed data feeds, desperate to understand what just happened. Combat analysts replayed the footage frame by frame, slowing down Tanner Rourke's movements, trying to identify the hidden tech. There had to be something. No species, certainly not a tech-void mammal from a tiered gravity world, could dismantle a Braskery warfighter like that. There was nothing to find. No implants, no kinetic stimulators, not even a muscle fiber sheath. Just a man who moved like a ghost and hit like a meteor. Tanner sat alone in the fighter prep zone, taping new wraps around his knuckles. His previous ones had split from the force of that final chokehold. A drone floated by to scan his vitals. His blood pressure was slightly elevated, but otherwise normal, infuriatingly normal. A Fenari Met officer hovered nearby, eyes blinking in sync. You realize Vranzik was supposed to be a warm-up bout? Tanner shrugged. Didn't feel warm. The Braskery ambassador has filed a formal protest. They believe you're concealing nanotech. Tell him I've been concealing nothing but frustration. Frustration? Yeah, Tanner said, flexing his jaw. It's been a week since I hit something that deserved it. In the Galactic Arena's control chamber, the matchmaking council was in a frenzy. Several species had lodged complaints. One demanded Tanner be tested for combat pheromones. Another accused him of using illegal psychological disruption, citing primitive intimidation gestures. None of it stuck. Eventually, they did the only thing that made sense. They scheduled the next fight. Tanner's second opponent was a Mechalari Bladelord named Kexthane, a legend among post-organics. His body was sleek chrome, a lattice of living circuitry wrapped around an exoskeletal frame. Each movement was calculated by his embedded anticipatory AI, a system capable of reading kinetic vectors before a strike even finished forming. In the warm-up chamber, Kexthane rotated his arm blades, their edges singing with ultrasonic tension. His trainers uploaded recent footage of Tanner's first fight. The AI predicted a 93% chance of victory. Primitive, Kexthane said through a voice box modulator. Lacks rhythm variation. Telegraphed movement, no one argued. The betting odds were more conservative now, but still viciously one-sided. The second match opened with new regulations. The announcers explained. As per council guidance, Earth's representative will again fight unaugmented. However, all matches are to be held under direct observation to ensure no performance-altering biochemistry is in play. The crowd was different now. Less laughter, more silence, more tension. Tanner walked out barefoot again. Same shorts, fresh, tape. He cracked his knuckles and rolled his neck, eyes scanning the arena. Kexthane entered in a blur of silver motion. His limbs split into combat positions, to blades high, to low. Sensors spun up, begin. The Mechalari didn't waste time. He struck forward in a straight-line dash, slicing the air itself with precision. His AI anticipated counters, adjusted angles mid-swing. For a moment, even Tanner looked outmatched. A swipe grazed his shoulder just. A flick, but it drew blood. Then the rhythm shifted. Tanner feinted right, ducked under a blade, and stepped in close to close for the Mechalari's length-based style. He slammed a palm into Kexthane's chest plate and shoved. The AI hesitated. Why push? No energy signature, no blast dot, but the human wasn't trying to hurt with the shove. He was unbalancing, and when balance failed, Tanner struck. A left hook to the jaw joint, a follow-up elbow to the core processor housing. Sparks flew. Kexthane stumbled back, recalibrating. Tanner stayed in the pocket. He slammed a knee into the Mechalari's thigh joint, disabling the lower actuator. Kexthane collapsed on one side. The AI spun through counterroutines. Tanner didn't give it time. He grabbed the cybernetic skull and drove it into the floor. The crowd screamed. 2 strikes later, the AI shattered. Lights blinked out. Kexthane's limbs froze. Match time. 38 seconds. In the aftermath, debate turned into panic. Alien commentators now spoke in hushed tones. He reads movement faster than predictive software. His species fights like they enjoy it. One of Axie. Diplomat muttered on a private channel. They've domesticated violence. Galactic schools had always viewed combat as either defense or dominance. But humans, they trained it. They broke it into pieces, drilled those pieces for years, refined them, mixed styles, invented new ones. And all without relying on tech. It was barbarism refined into art. And now it had a face. Tanner roared. By the third match, the crowd had turned. Alien children wore hand wraps. Adult warriors studied slow-motion replays. Some even began mimicking. Human warm-up, skipping rope, shadowboxing, stretching. Tanner's third opponent was Caraxes of the Whisper Claws, a quadruped predator with resonant vibrational armor. Her strikes generated sonic blasts that rippled through the air and disoriented most opponents. Before the first blow, she moved like a storm. Her tail alone could shatter bone. This time, Tanner bled. Not just a scratch, but a real cut. One rib cracked, his ear split from a side tail whip. Caraxes moved in pulses, unpredictable, timing her echoes to disorient the human inner ear. But Tanner adjusted. He closed his eyes. The arena gasped. Blind? No. He was listening, tuning out the fake echoes, zeroing in on real movement. And when he struck, it was brutal. A lunging uppercut to her throat, an elbow down the spine. His final move was a modified judo slam, used her weight against her and dropped her. She didn't get up. After that, the galaxy changed. Alien media rebranded Earth combat as brutal elegance. Documentaries aired on human fight history, from ancient Greek pankration to modern MMA. Every galactic university suddenly had a combat sports department. Some called it a fad. Others saw it as the start of a revolution. But the most important ripple happened deep in the chambers of the Galactic Council. The ambassador from the Synth Accord spoke quietly. If one unaugmented human can defeat our champions, what happens when they bring thousands? There was silence. They weren't asking if humans were strong. They were asking if humans were containing themselves. The name Tanner Rourke began circulating through every corner of galactic culture, on news cycles, in underground betting halls, in the corridors of political power. The term human-style combat had entered the lexicon of languages that had never before needed a word for headbutt. In the days after his second victory, everything changed. Combat rankings were frozen. Betting algorithms malfunctioned. Arena attendance tripled. And Tanner just kept taping his hands. His next opponent was Skinthresh, a war-trained predator from the Yilkar Dominion with exojointed limbs and a breathing apparatus wired directly into his circulatory system. The Yilkar were a silent, calculating species who relied on predictive combat modeling, real-time calculations. Enhanced by biosaptic overlays, their warriors knew your next move before you did. But Tanner didn't play by patterns. The fight lasted less than a minute. Skiness. Predictive models failed to account for a feint Tanner didn't finish. He launched a punch, stopped midway, and used the pause to drop under a counter blow, then sprang forward with a savage uppercut that launched Skin off the ground, while the Yilkar stumbled mid-air. Trying to recalculate, Tanner stepped in. With a clinch, delivered 3 knees to the abdomen and swept both legs with a foot hook. Skin hit the floor, coughing up coppery blood. The crowd went feral. Commentators tried to explain it. He fights with rhythm. His tempo isn't locked to any logic tree, one said. Human combat training based on improvisation. Deception, psychological pressure. He changes tactics based on emotion. That's not just illegal in most systems, it's unthinkable, even. The combat analytics A is, once proud and smug in their data analysis, began to admit failure. One arena bot simply stated, unpredictable input error. Tanner walked away from every match the same way, sweating, bleeding, smirking, unbroken. Soon, it wasn't just the audience that changed. The fighters changed. A Sarnati named Krell, known for his plasma-threaded gauntlets, stepped into the ring without his gear, just skin and bone. When asked why, he said, I want to feel what the human feels. His opponent beat him to a pulp, but the crowd loved it. A week later, a championship fighter from the Jern Collective challenged Tanner with no tech, just claws and instinct. He lasted 38 seconds. Outside the arena, Earth's image shifted violently. What was once a backwater world became the subject of intense scrutiny. Galactic historians dug through human records, uncovering millennia of warfare gladiators. In Rome, samurai in Japan, boxers in Brooklyn, entire alien cultures froze in awe at the idea that humanity had trained children in wrestling before they hit puberty, or that people willingly climbed into steel cages to punch each other for fun. The council was horrified. These people evolved not around weaponry, but around the act of violence itself, said High Chair Alaxer of the Thalven. Another delegate whispered, they learned to fight long before they mastered flight. Who does that? Earth's ambassador, an ex-marine named Lucia Vega, simply replied, tell me which is more dangerous, the species that needed tech to fight, or the one that got bored and made a sport out of it. And still, Tanner fought. He didn't care about cultural shifts or diplomacy or galactic ratings. He cared about getting in shape, staying loose, and hurting whoever stood in front of him. His 4th match was against Sorenvek, a fluid-bodied combatant who could manipulate mass density, literally hardening his limbs to iron levels during strikes. Soren's kind had never been injured in combat. Their biology was a perfect defense. Tanner knocked out 3 teeth. He didn't rely on brute force. He'd studied Soren's movements during warm-up. He waited for a shift when Soren's density faltered mid-transition between attacks and slipped a knuckle strike into the soft spot beneath the jaw. Precision, timing, simplicity. It was horrifying. After the fight, a reporter asked him, how did you know the transition moment would leave him vulnerable? Tanner shrugged. Every living thing blinks. Soon, rumors began swirling through the undercurrents of the arena circuit. Tanner wasn't just winning, he was teaching. Footage leaked from training halls where alien species mimicked human stances. Orthodox, southpaw, they built rings with ropes, they sparred without weapons. Some even boxed each other under Earth rules. Whole sectors of warrior clans began to abandon enhancements entirely, rediscovering the pain and purity of raw hand-to-hand combat. A new fighting league emerged, unofficially dubbed the Raw Division. It was underground, illegal in some systems, glorified on others. The rule was simple, no tech, no mods, just fists, grit, and training. The top of this growing movement, Tanner Rourke, back in his quarters after the Soren fight. Tanner sat with a bruised rib and half a grin. He watched an arena feed where 2 young Braskari fighters were throwing amateur jabs at each other, clearly imitating his last bout. They were clumsy, awkward, laughable, but he didn't laugh. He leaned forward, muttered softly. That's how it starts. He wasn't just beating fighters anymore. He was changing a galaxy. But not everyone celebrated. the Galactic Council convened. In private, their voices were raised, and their fear was palpable. If humans can teach this, if they spread it beyond entertainment, imagine a fleet of soldiers trained like him, no tech, just muscle memory and rage. They could bypass our entire military doctrine. They're not just strong, they're contagious. A long pause. Then someone said, "We must end this." But there was still one match left, one fighter who had never been defeated. The reigning champion of the arena, Threxus Prime. 12 years undefeated. A creature not born but engineered, part AI, part clone, part unknown. His reflexes were algorithmic. His strength had broken entire mechs. His mind processed threat analysis faster than a warship's fire control system. He was the ultimate expression of the arena's purpose, a fusion of biology and science into perfect violence. And he had just agreed to fight Tanner Rourke. No weapons, no enhancements. One rule: win. The arena had never been this quiet. Billions watched across galaxies. Cities paused. Starships slowed. Even mercenary fleets postponed battle schedules just to see it. The challenger, Tanner Rourke, the Terran anomaly who fought like war, was coded into his bones. The champion, Threxus Prime, undefeated in 12 years, the synthetic titan, a being engineered in labs older than human civilization. Designed for one thing: combat perfection. Tanner stood barefoot again, his knuckles already wrapped in white tape, now soaked with old blood. His face was weathered, jawline square, eyes calm. No bravado, no speeches. He wasn't here to make a statement. He was here to fight. Threxus Prime stood on the other side like a statue of death, 7'2". Silver-black skin with subtle circuit tracings that pulsed like a heartbeat. No face, just a smooth mask with two glowing red slits for eyes. Beneath his skin ran quantum-threaded reflex circuits and microhydraulics embedded into muscle tissue. His punches registered on seismic charts. And yet, he took the center first. Tanner smiled. "Nice walk," he said. "You move like a vending machine." Threxus didn't speak. He didn't taunt. His processors had already mapped Tanner's movements from previous matches. His AI mind ran simulations projecting the outcome of every conceivable punch, every feint, every angle. By 99.8% probability, this fight was over in 30 seconds. The bell rang, and for the first time in his arena career, Tanner didn't move. First, neither did Threxus. They stood, eyes locked, the silence louder than explosions. Then the Titan struck, a burst forward, faster than a blink, a piston-like jab to the face. Tanner slipped it by an inch. A follow-up elbow, a blur of steel and muscle. Tanner ducked again. Then he moved, fast. He threw a three-punch combo: jab, body hook, low kick, and got nothing. Threxus dodged with machine efficiency. He countered with a kick that cracked the floor, followed by a sweeping backfist that clipped Tanner's shoulder. The impact sent him stumbling. The crowd roared. Blood sprayed from Tanner's mouth. His arm hung loose, possibly dislocated. But he grinned. "Okay," he muttered. "That's new." He rolled the shoulder back into place. The fight resumed. 5 minutes in, it was clear this was a different kind of war. Threxus didn't just hit harder, he learned. Every movement Tanner tried, Threxus adjusted. Every angle, he covered. His AI tracked micro-muscle tension, posture changes, and reaction delay. Tanner's usual tricks, finds, setups, baiting hits, they weren't working because Threxus wasn't falling for them. So Tanner did what no AI could predict. He got mad. He screamed, charged forward like a lunatic. Wild haymakers, stomps, shoulder slams. None of it elegant. All of it unpredictable. Threxus caught one strike, tossed him across the floor like a doll. Tanner hit the ground hard, blood pooling under him. The crowd gasped. Ref protocol engaged, bio readings critical. But Tanner pushed himself up, spitting blood. He cracked his neck and said, "That all you got, toaster?" Threxus paused. His processors flickered. He couldn't compute it. Why would an injured organism provoke more violence? Tanner stepped forward, face bruised, chest heaving. "I don't fight to win," he said. "I fight so the other guy knows he should have stayed home." He moved again, slower now, but purposeful. Then it changed. Tanner stopped trying to win exchanges. He started to bleed information. He let Threxus hit him in the ribs to test the power curve, let him go for a leg to read timing. He was using his pain as data, and when he finally struck back it was surgical, a low calf kick, targeting a joint where synthetic muscle gave way. To pivot rods, Threxus staggered not much, but just enough. Tanner followed with an elbow again at a seam near the shoulder, not the head. The announcers were screaming, "He's deconstructing the Titan." Threxus recalculated, adjusted, began hitting harder, but Tanner kept closing the distance. No AI, no sensor suite, no holographic predictor could prepare for the dirty, ugly, improvised madness of human brawling. Eye pokes, weight shifts, sudden, rhythm changes, and then came the finish. Tanner faked a collapse. Threxus lunged to end it. Tanner rolled into his sacrifice throw, a move not in any galactic database, and flipped the champion flat on his back. He jumped into mount position and rained down fists. Not wild, not showy, just relentless, hammering punches that made the crowd forget the stars even existed. Threxus struggled to rise, his systems failing, sensors scrambled. Tanner grabbed the back of his synthetic head and whispered, "You lost the moment you tried to outthink instinct." Then he drove a final fist down straight into the power socket behind the left eye. Threxus spasmed once, then went still. The silence was instant. No music, no cheer, no fireworks, just the slow realization that the unbeatable had just been beaten. By a man with nothing but tape on his fists. Then the roar came, across systems, across feeds, through embassies and fleets and rogue stations, the scream of a galaxy that had just witnessed something it didn't understand. Not just victory. Revolution. Tanner didn't raise his hands. He stood slowly, blood down his arms, body shaking. He looked up at the arena and spoke. "We don't fight 'cause we're angry. We don't fight 'cause we're perfect. We fight 'cause we can." Then he walked off. 1 month later, the Galactic Arena Commission legalized the Rock Combat League. Fighters from dozens of species lined up to learn Earth-style hand-to-hand. Combat academies on 3 planets began importing human trainers. Tanner refused every contract, every endorsement, every political favor. He left the arena and disappeared. Some say he joined a human outpost on the edge of space. Others claim he's training the next generation quietly, brutally, perfectly. One thing's certain: the galaxy will never look at fists the same way again.